that, so we can go and meeting with getting. Like you pull over to the crib and I'm like, yo, let's roll out to so and so, and you're like, yeah, I bet, let's go. And it so happens that you came to my house whilst doing your drug run, but because you're irresponsible, you didn't deliver the drugs. And then we get pulled over.
At that point, you're an accomplice. You're an accomplice at that point.
How can you prove I knew you had the drugs in the
Why haven't the eggs come
trunk?
down?
I mean, you can't prove that unless you have a good lawyer that can prove you weren't a accomplice.
Oh, listen, man, everyone's involved. The majority of the time, when they get pulled over, one person has possession, the other one goes away.
But this is my point. My point is this, right?
Let me say something
If you have all these politicians flying into this island,
about
I would say that they're all guilty, to be honest with you.
No, I would say a lot of them are guilty. I'm even willing to say probably the majority of them, probably, right? But I can't say all of them are guilty because I understand that, like, if you're chartering private jets, sometimes there's certain stop-offs that you have to make, and you're gonna show up on the manifest, right? If I'm borrowing the jet for the day, but the pilot has to make 2 other stops, and then after we fuel up at this island, we're gonna go to wherever the fuck I need to go.
Why are you there in the first place?
To fuel.
I'm not gonna. You would make a great lawyer. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm not trying to defend this.
You would make a great lawyer. Yeah, you.
I'm just trying to say that I find it very highly improbable that every single one of those people on that list was there for that type shit,
No, if this island is known for.
The Book of Lies by Aleister Crowley, Chapters 0 through 50. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. AA publication in classes C and D. Official for Babes of the Abyss. Imprimatur in Freighter AA. Liber 333. The Book of Lies, which is also falsely called Breaks. The wanderings or falsifications of the one thought of Freighter Perdurabo, which thought is itself untrue. Break, break, break at the foot of thy stones, O sea. I would that I could utter the thoughts that arise in me. Question mark. Exclamation point. Chapter 0. The chapter that is not a chapter. Oh, the anti-triad which is not God. Nothing is, nothing becomes, nothing is not. The first triad, which is God. I am. I utter the word. I hear the word. The abyss. The word is broken up. There is knowledge. Knowledge is relation. These fragments are creation. The broken manifests light. The second triad, which is God. God the Father and Mother is concealed in generation. God is concealed in the whirling energy of nature. God is manifest in gathering, harmony, consideration, the mirror of the sun and of the heart. The third triad, bearing, preparing, wavering, flowing, flashing, stability, begetting. The 10th emanation, the world. Chapter 1, the Sabbath of the Goat. O, the heart of Nox, the night of Pan. Pan, duality, energy, death. Death, begetting, the supporters of O. To beget is to die. To die is to beget. Cast the seed into the field of night. Life and death are two names of A. Kill thyself. Neither of these alone is enough. Chapter 2, the cry of the hawk. Hor hath the secret fourfold name. It is, do what thou wilt. 4 words, not one, many, all. Thou child, thy name is holy, thy kingdom is come, thy will is done. Here is the bread, here is the blood. Bring us through temptation, deliver us from good and evil. That mine as thine be the crown of the kingdom, even now. Abrahadabra. These 10 words are for the name of the one. Chapter 3, the oyster. The brothers of AA are one with the mother of the child. The many is as adorable to the one as the one is to the many. This is the love of these. Creation, parturition, is the bliss of the one. Coition, dissolution, is the bliss of the many. The all, thus interwoven of these, is bliss. Naught is beyond bliss. The man delights in uniting with the woman. The woman in parting from the child. The brothers of AA are women. The aspirants to AA are men. Chapter 4, Peaches. Soft and hollow, how thou dost overcome the hard and full. It dies, it gives itself. To thee is the fruit. Be thou the bride, thou shalt be the mother hereafter. To all impressions thus, let them not overcome thee, yet let them breed within thee. The least of the impressions, come to its perfection, is Pan. Receive 1,000 lovers, thou shalt bear but one child. This child shall be the heir of Fate the Father. Chapter 5, the battle of the ants. That is not which is. The only word is silence. The only meaning of that word is not. Thoughts are false. Fatherhood is unity disguised as duality. Peace implies war. Power implies war. Harmony implies war. Victory implies war. Glory implies war. Foundation implies war. Alas for the kingdom wherein all these are at war. Chapter 6, Caviar. The word was uttered. The one exploded into 1,000 million worlds. Each world contained 1,000 million spheres. Each sphere contained 1,000 million planets. Each planet contained 1,000 million stars. Each star contained a many thousand million things. Of these the reasoner took 6, and, preening, said, This is the one and the all. These 6 the adept harmonized, and said, This is the heart of the one and the all. These 6 were destroyed by the master of the temple, and he spake not. The ash thereof was burnt up by the magus into the word. Of all this did the Ipsissimus know nothing. Chapter 7. The Dinosaurs. None are they whose number is 6, else were they 6 indeed. 7 are these 6 that live not in the city of the pyramids, under the night of Pan. There was Lao Tzu, there was Siddhartha, there was Krishna, there was Tahuti, there was Moshe, there was Dionysus, there was Mahmud. But the 7th men called Perdurabo, for enduring unto the end, at the end, was not to endure. Amen. Chapter 8. Steeped Horsehair. Mind is a disease of semen. All that a man is or may be is hidden therein. Bodily functions are parts of the machine, silent unless in disease. But mind, never at ease, creaketh eye. This eye persisteth not, posteth not through generations, changeth momently, finally is dead. Therefore is man only himself, when lost to himself in the charioting. Chapter 9. The Branks. Being is the noun, form is the adjective, matter is the noun, motion is the verb. Wherefore hath being clothed itself with form? Wherefore hath matter manifested itself in motion? Answer not, O silent one, for there is no wherefore, no because. The name of that is not known. The pronoun interprets, that is, misinterprets it. Time and space are adverbs. Duality begat the conjunction. The conditioned is father of the preposition. The article also marketh division, but the interjection is the sound that endeth in silence. Destroy thereof the 8 parts of speech. The 9th is nigh unto truth. This also must be destroyed, before thou enterest into the silence. Aum. Chapter 10. Whittlestraws. The abyss of hallucination has law and reason, but in truth there is no bond between the toys of the gods. This reason and law is the bond of the great lie. Truth, 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 crieth the Lord of the abyss of hallucinations. There is no silence in that abyss, for all that men call silence is its speech. The abyss is also called hell, and the many. Its name is consciousness and the universe among men. But that which neither is silent nor speaks rejoices therein. Chapter 11. The Glowworm. Concerning the holy 3 and naught, knew it, had it, Rahur Kuit, are only to be understood by the
Not
master
yet.
of the temple. They
Uneducated.
are above the abyss and contain all contradiction in themselves. Below them is a seeming duality of chaos and Babylon. These are called father and mother, but it is not so. They are called brother and sister, but it is not so. They are called husband and wife, but it is not so. The reflection of all is Pan. The night of Pan is the annihilation of the all. Cast down through the abyss is the light, the rosy cross, the rapture of union that destroys. That is the way. The rosy cross is the ambassador of Pan. How infinite is the distance from this to that, yet all is here and now, nor is there any there or then, for all that is, what is it, but a manifestation, that is, a part, That is a falsehood of that which is not. Yet that which is not neither is nor is not that which is. Identity is perfect, therefore the law of identity is but a lie. For there is no subject, and there is no predicate, nor is there the contradictory of either of these things. Holy, holy, holy are these truths that I utter, knowing them to be but falsehoods. Broken mirrors, troubled waters, hide me, O Our Lady, in thy womb, for I may not endure the rapture. In this utterance of falsehood upon falsehood, whose contradictories are also false, it seems as if that which I uttered not were true. Blessed, unutterably blessed, is the last of the illusions. Let me play the man and thrust it from me. Amen. Chapter 12. The Dragonflies. I-O is the cry of the lower, as O-I of the higher. In figures they are 1001. In letters they are joy. For when all is equilibrated, when all is beheld from without all, there is joy, joy, joy that is but one facet of a diamond, every other facet whereof is more joyful than joy itself. Chapter 13. Pilgrim Talk. O thou that settest upon the path, false is the phantom that thou seekest. When thou hast it, thou shalt know all bitterness, thy teeth fixed in the Sodom apple. Thus hast thou been lured along that path, whose terror else had driven thee far away. O thou that stridest upon the middle of the path, no phantoms mock thee, for the stride's sake thou stridest. Thus art thou lured along that path, whose fascination else had driven thee far away. O thou that drawest toward the end of the path, effort is no more. Faster and faster dost thou fall. Thy weariness is changed into ineffable rest, for there is no thou upon that path. Thou hast become the way. Chapter 14. Onion Peelings. The universe is the practical joke of the general, at the expense of the particular. Quoth Frater Perdurabo, and laughed. But those disciples nearest to him wept, seeing the universal sorrow. Those next to them laughed, seeing the universal joke. Below these certain disciples wept, then certain laughed, others next wept, others next laughed, next others wept, next others laughed. Last came those that wept, because they could not see the joke, and those that laughed, lest they should be thought not to see the joke, and thought it safe to act like Frater Perdurabo. But though Frater Perdurabo laughed openly, he also at the same time wept secretly, and in himself he neither laughed nor wept, nor did he mean what he said. Chapter 15. The Gun Barrel. Mighty and erect is this will of mine, this pyramid of fire whose summit is lost in heaven. Upon it have I burned the corpse of my desire. Mighty and erect is this phallus of my will. The seed thereof is that which I have borne within me from eternity, and it is lost within the body of Our Lady of the Stars. I am not I am but a hollow tube to bring down fire from heaven. Mighty and marvelous is this weakness, this heaven which draweth me into her womb, this dome which hideth, which absorbeth me. This is the night wherein I am lost, the love through which I am no longer I. Chapter 16. The Stag Beetle. Death implies change and individuality. If thou be that which hath no person, which is beyond the changing, even beyond changelessness, what hast thou to do with death? The bird of individuality is ecstasy, so also is its death. In love the individuality is slain. Who loves not love? Love death, therefore, and long eagerly for it. Die daily. Chapter 17. The Swan. There is a swan whose name is ecstasy. It wingeth from the deserts of the north. It wingeth through the blue. It wingeth over the fields of rice. At its coming they push forth the green. In all the universe this swan alone is motionless. It seems to move, as the sun seems to move. Such is the weakness of our sight. O fool, criest thou. Amen. Motion is relative. There is nothing that is still. Against this swan I shot an arrow. The white breast poured forth blood. Men smote me. Then, perceiving that I was but a pure fool, they let me pass. Thus, and not otherwise, I came to the temple of the Grail. Chapter 18. Dewdrops. Verily, love is death, and death is life to come. Man returneth not again, the stream floweth not uphill. The old life is no more, there is a new life that is not his. Yet that life is of his very essence. It is more he than all that he calls he. In the silence of a dewdrop is every tendency of his soul and of his mind and of his body. It is the quintessence and the elixir of his being. Therein are the forces that made him, and his father and his father's father before him. This is the dew of immortality. Let this go free, even as it will. Thou art not its master, but the vehicle of it. Chapter 19. The Leopard and the Deer. The spots of the leopard are the sunlight in the glade. Pursue thou the deer stealthily at thy pleasure. The dappling of the deer is the sunlight in the glade. Concealed from the leopard, do thou feed at thy pleasure. Resemble all that surroundeth thee, yet be thyself, and take thy pleasure among the living. This is that which is written, lurk, in the book of the law. Chapter 20. Samson. The universe is in equilibrium. Therefore he that is without it, though his force be but a feather, can overturn the universe. Be not caught within that web, O child of freedom. Be not entangled in the universal lie, O child of truth. Chapter 21. The Blind Webster. It is not necessary to understand. It is enough to adore. The God may be of clay. Adore him. He becomes God. We ignore what created us. We adore what we create. Let us create nothing but God. That which causes us to create is our true father and mother. We create in our own image, which is theirs. Let us create, therefore, without fear. For we can create nothing that is not God. Chapter 22. The Despot. The waiters of the best eating houses mock the whole world. They estimate every client at his proper value. This I know certainly, because they always treat me with profound respect. Thus they have flattered me into praising them thus publicly. Yet it is true, and they have this insight because they serve, and because they can have no personal interest, in the affairs of those whom they serve. An absolute monarch would be absolutely wise and good. But no man is strong enough to have no interest. Therefore, the best king would be pure chance. It is pure chance that rules the universe. Therefore, and only therefore, life is good. Chapter 23. Skidoo. What man is at ease in his inn? Get out. Wide is the world and cold. Get out. Thou hast become an initiate. Get out. But thou canst not get out by the way thou camest in. The way out is the way. Get out. For out is love and wisdom and power. Get out. If thou hast tea already, first get you tea, then get O, and so at last get out. Chapter 24. The Hawk and the Blind Worm. This book would translate beyond reason into the words of reason. Explain thou snow to them of Andaman. The slaves of reason call this book abuse of language. They are right. Language was made for men to eat and drink, make love, do barter, die. The wealth of a language consists in its abstracts. The poorest tongues have wealth of concretes. Therefore have adepts praised silence. At least it does not mislead as speech does. Also, speech is a symptom of thought. Yet silence is but the negative side of truth. The positive side is beyond even silence. Nevertheless, one true God crieth Hryliu, and the laughter of the death rattle is akin. Chapter 25. The Star Ruby. Facing east, in the center, draw deep, deep, deep thy breath, closing thy mouth with thy right forefinger pressed against thy lower lip. Then, dashing down the hand with a great sweep back and out, expelling forcefully thy breath, cry, Apo Pantos Kakodemonos. With the same forefinger touch thy forehead, and say, Soy, thy member, and say, O Phale, thy right shoulder, and say, Iskoros, thy left shoulder, and say, Eucharistos. Then clasp thine hands, locking the fingers, and cry, I-A-O. Advance to the east. Imagine strongly a pentagram, a right in thy forehead. Drawing the hands to the eyes, fling it forth, making the sign of Horus, and roar, Chaos! Retire thine hand in the sign of Hor-Pa-Krat. Go round to the north and repeat, but scream, Babylon! Go round to the west and repeat, but say, Eros. Go round to the south and repeat, but bellow, Psyche. Completing the circle widdershins, retire to the center, and raise thy voice in the paean with these words, Iopan, with the sign of NOX. Extend the arms in the form of a tau, and say, low but clear, Promo Iungus, Opisomo Teletarchi, Epidexia Sinoches, Eparistera Demones, Flagei, Gar Perimo Ho Aster Ton Pinte, Kai in the still Ho Aster Ton Hex, Est Key. Repeat the cross Kabbalistic as above, and end as thou didst begin. Chapter 26. The Elephant and the Tortoise. The absolute and the condition together make the one absolute. The second, who is the fourth, the demiurge, whom all nations of men call the first, is a lie grafted upon a lie multiplied by a lie. Fourfold is he, the elephant upon whom the universe is poised, but the carapace of the tortoise supports and covers all. This tortoise is sixfold, the holy hexagram. These 6 and 4 are 10. 10, the one manifested that returns to the not unmanifest. The Almighty, the All-Ruler, the All-Knower, the All-Father, adored by all men and by me abhorred. Be thou accursed, be thou abolished, be thou annihilated. Amen. Chapter 27. The Sorcerer. A sorcerer, by the power of his magic, had subdued all things to himself. Would he travel? He could fly through space more swiftly than the stars. Would he eat, drink, and take his pleasure? There was none that did not instantly obey his bidding. In the whole system of 10 million times 10 million spheres, upon the 22 million planes, he had his desire. And with all this, he was but himself, alas. Chapter 28. The Pole Star. Love is all virtue, since the pleasure of love is but love, and the pain of love is but love. Love taketh no heed of that which is not, and of that which is. Absence exalteth love, and presence exalteth love. Love moveth from height to height of ecstasy, and faileth never. The wings of love droop not with time, nor slacken for life or for death. Love destroyeth self, uniting self with that which is not self, so that love breedeth all and none in one. Is it not so? No? Then thou art not lost in love. Speak not of love. Love always yieldeth. Love always hardeneth. May be. I write it, but to write her name. Chapter 29. The Southern Cross. Love, I love you. Night, night, cover us. Thou art night, O my love, and there are no stars but thine eyes. Dark night, sweet night, so warm and yet so fresh, so scented, yet so holy. Cover me, cover me. Let me be no more. Let me be thine. Let me be thou. Let me be neither thou nor I. Let there be love in night and night in love. N-O-X, the night of Pan, and Layla, the night before his threshold. Chapter 30. Jhana Dreams. Dreams are imperfections of sleep. Even so is consciousness the imperfection of waking. Dreams are impurities in the circulation of the blood. Even so is consciousness a disorder of life. Dreams are without proportion, without good sense, without truth. So also is consciousness. Awake from dream, the truth is known. Awake from waking, the truth is the unknown. Chapter 31. The Garret. It moves from motion into rest, and rests from rest into motion. These it does alway, for time is not. So that it does neither of these things. It does that one thing which we must express by two things, neither of which possesses any rational meaning. Yet its doing, which is no doing, is simple and yet complex, is neither free nor necessary, for all these ideas express relation, and it, comprehending all relation in its simplicity, is out of all relation, even with itself. All this is true and false, and it is true and false to say that it is true and false. Strain forth thy intelligence, O man, O worthy one, O chosen of it, to apprehend the discourse of the Master, for thus thy reason shall at last break down, as the fetter is struck from the slave's throat. Chapter 32. The Mountaineer. Consciousness is a symptom of disease. All that moves well moves without will. All skillfulness, all strain, all intention is contrary to ease. Practice 1,000 times, and it becomes difficult. 1,000,000, and it becomes easy. 1,000,000 times 1,000,000, and it is no longer thou that doeth it, but it that doeth itself through thee. Nor until then is that which is done well done. Thus spoke Frater Perdurabo, as he leapt from rock to rock of the moraine, without ever casting his eyes upon the ground. Chapter 33. Baphomet. A black two-headed eagle is God, even a black triangle is he. In his claw he beareth a sword, yea, a sharp sword is held therein. This eagle was burnt up in the great fire, yet not a feather is scorched. This eagle is swallowed up in the great sea, yet not a feather is wetted. So flieth he in the air, and lighteth upon the earth at his pleasure. So spake Iacobus Burgundus Molensis, the Grand Master of the temple, and of the god that is ass-headed did he dare not speak. Chapter 34. The Smoking Dog. Each act of man is the twist and double of an hare. Love and death are the greyhounds that course him. God bred the hounds, and taketh his pleasure in the sport. This is the comedy of Pan, that man should think he hunteth, while those hounds hunt him. This is the tragedy of man, when facing love and death he turns to bay. He is no more hare, but boar. There are no other comedies or tragedies. Cease then to be the mockery of God. In savagery of love and death, live thou and die. Thus shall his laughter be thrilled through with ecstasy. Chapter 35. Venus of Milo. Life is as ugly and necessary as the female body. Death is as beautiful and necessary as the male body. The soul is beyond male and female, as it is beyond life and death. Even as the lingam and the yoni are but diverse developments of one organ, so also are life and death but two phases of one state. So also the absolute and the conditioned are but forms of that. What do I love? There is no form, no being, to which I do not give myself wholly up. Take me who will. Chapter 36. The Star Sapphire. Let the adept be armed with his magic rood, and provide him with his mystic rose. In the center, let him give the LVX signs. Or, if he know them, if he will and dare do them, and can keep silent about them, the signs of NOX, being the signs of puer, vir, puella, mulier. Omit the sign IR. Then let him advance to the east, and make the holy hexagram, saying, Pater et Mater, unus Deus ararita. Let him go round to the south, make the holy hexagram, and say, Mater et Filius, unus Deus ararita. Let him go round to the west, make the holy hexagram, and say, Filius et Filia, unus Deus ararita. Let him go round to the north, make the holy hexagram, and then say, Filia et Pater unus Deus ararita. Let him then return to the center, and so to the center of all, making the rosy cross as he may know how, saying, Ararita, Ararita, Ararita. In this the signs shall be those of Set triumphant and of Baphomet. Also shall Set appear in the circle. Let him drink of the sacrament, and let him communicate the same. Then let him say, Omnia in duos, duo in unum, unus in nihil. Haec nec quator, nec omnia, nec duo, nec unus, nec nihil sunt. Gloria Patri et Matri et Filio et Filiae et Spiritui Sancto. Externo et Spiritui Sancto. Interno ut erat in saecula, saeculorum sex in uno per nomen septem, in uno erarita. Let him then repeat the signs of LVX, but not the signs of NOX, for it is not he that shall arise in the sign of Isis rejoicing. Chapter 37. Dragons. Thought is the shadow of the eclipse of Luna. Samadhi is the shadow of the eclipse of Soul. The moon and the earth are the non-ego and the ego. The sun is that. Both eclipses are darkness. Both are exceedingly rare. The universe itself is light. Chapter 38. Lambskin. Cowan skidoo, tile, swear to Hile all. This is the mystery, life. Mind is the traitor. Slay mind. Let the corpse of mind lie unburied on the edge of the great sea. Death. This is the mystery. Tile, Cowan skidoo. Chapter 39. The Luby. Only Lubies find excellence in these words. It is unthinkable that A is not A. To reverse this is but to revert to the normal. Yet by forcing the brain to accept propositions, of which one set is absurdity, the other truism, a new function of brain is established. Vague and mysterious and all indefinite are the contents of this new consciousness. Yet they are somehow vital. By use, they become luminous. Unreason becomes experience. This lifts the leaden-footed soul of the experience of that, of which reason is the blasphemy. But without the experience, these words are the lies of a looby. Yet a looby to thee, and a booby to me, a Balacius ruby to God may be. Chapter 40. The Hymog. A red rose absorbs all colors but red. Red is therefore the one color that is not. This law, reason, time, space, all limitation blinds us to the truth. All that we know of man, nature, God, is just that which they are not. It is that which they throw off as repugnant. The Hymog is only visible insofar as he is imperfect. Then are they all glorious who seem not to be glorious, as the Hymog is all glorious within? It may be so. How then distinguish the inglorious and perfect Hymog from the inglorious man of earth? Distinguish not, but thyself extinguish. Hymog thou art, and hymog shall thou be. Chapter 41. Corned Beef Hash. In V is the great work perfect. Therefore, none is that pertaineth not to V. In any may he manifest, yet in one hath he chosen to manifest, and this one hath given his ring as a seal of authority to the work of the AA, through the colleagues of Frater Per Durabo. But this concerns themselves and their administration. It concerneth none below the grade of exempt adept, and such an one only by command. Also, since below the abyss reason is lord, let men seek by experiment, and not by questionings. Chapter 42. Dust Devils. In the wind of the mind arises the turbulence called I. It breaks. Down shower the barren thoughts. All life is choked. This desert is the abyss, wherein is the universe. The stars are but thistles in that waste. Yet this desert is but one spot accursed in the world of bliss. Now and again travelers cross the desert. They come from the great sea, and to the great sea they go. As they go, they spill water. One day they will irrigate the desert till it flower. See, 5 footprints of a camel. V. Chapter 43. Mulberry Tops. Black blood upon the altar, and the rustle of angel wings above. Black blood of the sweet fruit, the bruised, the violated bloom, that setteth the wheel a-spinning in the spire. Death is the veil of life, and life of death, for both are gods. This is that which is written, a feast for life, and a greater feast for death, in the book of the law. The blood is the life of the individual. Offer then blood. Chapter 44. The Mass of the Phoenix. The magician, his breast bare, stands before an altar, on which are his burin, bell, thurible, and 2 of the cakes of light. In the sign of the Enterer he reaches west across the altar, and cries, Hail, Ra, that goest in thy bark into the caverns of the dark. He gives the sign of silence, and takes the bell and fire in his hands. East of the altar see me stand with light and music in mine hand. He strikes 11 times upon the bell. 3, 3, 3, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 3, 3, 3, and places the fire in the thurible. I strike the bell, I light the flame, I utter the mysterious name, Abrahadabra. He strikes 11 times upon the bell. Now I begin to pray, thou child, holy thy name and undefiled. Thy reign is come, thy will is done. Here is the bread, here is the blood. Bring me through midnight to the sun. Save me from evil and from good. Take thy 1 crown of all the 10. Even now and here be mine. Amen. He puts the first cake in the fire of the thurible. I burn the incense cake, proclaim these adorations of thy name. He makes them as in Liber Legis, and strikes again 11 times upon the bell. With the burin he then makes upon his breast the proper sign. Behold this bleeding breast of mine, gashed with the sacramental sign. He puts the second cake to the wound. I staunch the blood, the wafer soaks it up, and the high priest invokes. He eats the second cake. This bread I eat, this oath I swear, as I inflame myself with prayer. There is no grace, there is no guilt. This is the law. Do what thou wilt. He strikes 11 times upon the bell, and cries, Abrahadabra. I entereth in with woe and mirth, and now go forth and with thanksgiving, to do my pleasure on the earth, among the legions of the living. He goeth forth. Chapter 45. Chinese Music. Explain this happening. It must have a natural cause. It must have a supernatural cause. Let these two asses be set to grind corn. May, might, must, should, probably, may be, we may safely assume, ought, it is hardly questionable, almost certainly. Poor hacks.
Because of their ethnicity. That's the question for Steve today. Will it be the day, finally, that Steve takes the red pill, wakes up, or is he going to continue to slumber on in his fantasy? What will it be, atheist?
Are you good before I answer? Is there anything else you'd like to contribute?
I have taken the red pill. I am great.
All right. My answer to your question is I do my best to avoid pills at all costs. Thank you very much for your contribution. Let's move on to Art. Good morning, Art. Welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to see you. What would you like to talk about?
Good morning, Steve. Thank you for the floor. I like the meme, take both pills, get fucked up, but only as a joke. I think that's a funny meme if you haven't seen it. Yeah, it's something I find interesting. I haven't heard too many people mention just the correlation between the New Jersey drones the past month or two, this new Stargate program being the exact same name as the top secret but now declassified Stargate program from the 60s and 70s that I think might have been related to that The Men Who Stare at Goats book and film with George Clooney. But basically that was the government program, top secret at the time, to try to train agents, people in the government to be telepathic. And then some people say that went into black sites, that are still top secret, and then the public disclosure is a dog and pony show about these things. So I'm just curious about, the strange coincidence or synchronicity, the choice to call it Stargate, giving, the announcement that Sam Altman is going to get $500 billion in funding for his AI, and Elon Musk, who supported Trump, is left out in the cold with his Grok 3 apparently right now. And then the third thing that correlates to me, that just in an odd way, is that I've been told by a couple of people that the number one podcast in the country since the inauguration has been this thing called the telepath tapes about autistic children being telepathic, almost like some other new Stargate program or podcast. So just interesting how these things are all happening simultaneously. I don't know what to make of them, but yeah.
Thank you, Art. I'll take your word for it on the number one podcast since the inauguration. I didn't hear that. I'll take your word for it. Once again, on the Stargate programs, I haven't heard anything about it. We'll go back to Dr. James first and then Reverend Scott to see if they want to comment further on Stargate or whatnot. Dr. James?
Just that there's been a little bit of a drama this week because after the announcement was made, then Elon Musk did a tweet where he said they don't have $500 billion, they only have $10 million, and he basically was calling them out for being a little bit full of shit about the actual funding behind the project, and called out some of the issues with the major VC that would have been doing the funding, which I think still is. And apparently, this is like breaking news. Apparently, Elon Musk has been ejected from the main White House because, he went against Trump in this way and now has to walk across the lawn to some other building to do his work. So Just kind of classic, Trump 2.0 stuff.
Reverend Scott, any further comment on Stargate, etc.?
I just want to say that we don't need AI here. We've got natural intelligence. We've got our atheistic Uncle Steve leading the militia. And that is what we'll rely on with our wits about us, raving the clubhouse street.
I do like to surround myself with experts. This is true. Dr. James, mental health. Reverend Scott, theology. Cora comes in, infrastructure. John Malincrot comes in, science and physics. I like being surrounded by experts. Dad always said, trust your experts. Let's move on to Caleb. Good morning, Caleb. It's a pleasure to see you back on Ask the Atheist. What would you like to talk about?
Good morning. I wanted to respond to a previous speaker about the idea of our stories. I would like to encourage everybody that our stories are really important. Whether they are accurate histories or not is a little bit beside the point. What they mean and how we incorporate them into our lives is much more important than their historicity. So it's not a thing about red pill, blue pill that the previous speaker so inelegantly and presumptuously asked you, and how you so artfully dodged Uncle Steve. But I think our stories really matter, and I think we can go open-eyed, full-eyed about their historicity or their factualness and still hold them to be meaningful in our lives. And I would just say, as a closing, I have pity for those people who can't make meaning out of their stories. I think that's a pitiful state.
Thank you very much. If you're in the audience and want to come up and talk about anything, please simply raise your hand. We never put a limit on content. John, it's a pleasure to see you here. It's been a while. Welcome back to the show. What would you like to talk about?
I would like to talk about you.
I always like to talk about me.
Okay. So the situation is, about 2 years ago, you were promised a shirt from Tom Rabbit. Now, he, for whatever reason, did not get that shirt over to you. And he owed me a shirt because I was also on his YouTube video channel. And I said that I wanted it shipped to the address that you had on file last time. The proper address. And once he found out that it was going to you, he said, I'm not going to send it. So fast forward 2 years later, you're still on my mind. I do want to get your shirt. I was trying to get you my shirt, but now I'm going to purchase one from his channel. And so if you send me your address, Uncle Steve, as I remember, you wanted a 2X. Was that correct?
I think so. This was 2 years ago, but I do remember the conversation. Go ahead.
I hope you're not a 3X now. But
I am not a 3X.
But in any case, if you send me your address to my, message back channel, whatever, I will get you a shirt, the shirt that you deserve.
You are very kind. I am curious. What made you think about this 2 years later?
Well, it's not really 2 years later. Tom Rabbit has promised me a shirt. Another shirt. There was another shirt he was selling with my image on it. It said, you may not have seen it. It says Cope, like the Obama.
I haven't heard a Tom Rabbit show in over 6 months minimum.
Okay. So he promised me that. He promised me $50 in Bitcoin if I joined his site. He didn't pay on that. And then lastly, he promised he gathered money to get a headset, a Bluetooth headset for me. And he was trying to cause me to negotiate. Like I needed to be in his room for a certain amount of hours in order to qualify, and wanted me to commit. At which point I said, "Listen, if you give it to me, I do need one. I would accept it graciously and gratefully. And but if you're gonna put terms on a gift like that, then I'm just gonna decline." And so basically, those four things: 2 shirts, $50 in Bitcoin, and the Bluetooth headset was promised. Now, interesting enough, I actually sent him a $100 Amazon gift card because I had a bounty that he actually was, deserved to get the bounty. So they thought I wasn't going to pay. And of course, that's the honorable thing to do. But so it got down to his refusal to send these promised things. And then your name got mentioned. And I was reminded of it. I wanted to send it to you. Then, like I said, I wanted him to send you a shirt that he owes me, but he's not willing to do that.
Right.
So I'm just gonna purchase it.
Okay. Question. Before you go further, question: have you laid out any money for my shirt yet?
Not yet.
Okay. This is my preference. Please either donate the money to charity or don't give the shirt to someone else who wants it. I don't have any desire to have the shirt, and I definitely don't want you to spend money on me. But if you insist, donate it to a charity. I don't want a Tom Rabbit shirt any longer. Yeah.
So if you don't want it, I'm not going to. I'm certainly not going to patronize this channel. Right. That's not.
I appreciate you thinking of me. That's very kind.
I want you to know I have been thinking about you, and I've been thinking about this for 2 years, and so I just made this gesture. So.
And do you know clearly? Tom Rabbit promised you some things, and then for whatever reason flaked out. I made the claim 2 years ago. He promised me the shirt, and he flaked out. Clearly, he disputed that with me. He disputed that with you. Do you know if he's made promises to other people and flaked out?
I'm not here to disparage Tom Rabbit.
Okay, fair enough. No problem. No. That's fine. That's fine. I thank you very much for thinking of me. Just give it to charity. And I hope you stick around. It's good to see you. Thank you very much. I like that.
It's good to see Scott as well, but he's just
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. And if anybody in the audience wants to come up and talk about anything, you're encouraged to do so. Let's say hello to T. Good morning, T. Welcome back to the show. What would you like to talk about?
Good morning. A little piece of trivia for the history books. The aforementioned art piece with John in the style of the Obama Hope poster, except it says Cope, was my art. I licensed it to Tom for unlimited use, including commercial.
That's right. How are you doing, T, by the way? How's your health?
I'm surviving. I'm in the process of wasting away at this point.
T has
good to see that you've lasted this long. I appreciate that.
T has always been a calming voice on the show. Thank you, T. I did not know you had health concerns, so of course I only wish you the best. You've never talked about it before, so.
I try not to make it the focus, Steve.
No problem. I wish you the best of health.
In the spirit of that, T, I will say that when T and I first met, he was not a calming voice for me. We really went bullhorn to bullhorn, but he revealed himself to be such a solid human being. I was.
If anybody in the audience wants to come up, you are encouraged to do so. I put at the top on the Jumbotron a little story about the U.S. Supreme Court. Check it out.
Some breaking news out of the Supreme Court agreeing to take up a case that could blur the line now between church and state. The justices will hear arguments out of Oklahoma over whether the state can approve the country's first publicly funded religious charter school. NBC's Lawrence Hurley joins me now with more on that. And Lawrence, as we understand it, the lower courts have been pretty clear about where the law in Oklahoma stands. Tell us more about the specific case here and how it has weaved its way through the courts.
Yeah, I mean, a key issue here is that the Oklahoma Attorney General, Gentner Drummond, who's a Republican, he took the position against his own party to say he thinks this proposal is blatantly unconstitutional under both Oklahoma law and the U.S. Constitution.
Motherfucking
He actually
Uncle
took this
Steve,
case to the Oklahoma
fucking
Supreme
shut
Court.
down this channel right now.
Oh, I would love to talk to you, but if you could just wait your turn, a couple of
Okay,
minutes,
sir.
we will get
And-
done. That's okay. Go on mute, and we'll talk to you in just a moment. Since you interrupted the clip, I'll just talk for a moment, and then we'll get
Sorry,
to you.
sir.
It's okay. If you can just stay on mute for a minute, we'll come to you because you're next. The United States Supreme Court agreed to decide whether states may reject religious charter schools from receiving public funds, agreeing to hear arguments in an appeal of the Oklahoma law involving the first such school in the nation. St. Isidore of Seville Catholic Virtual School applied last year to take part in Oklahoma's charter school program, which would entitle it to public funding. The state's top court struck its approval down in June, ruling that charter schools must be non-sectarian and that St. Isidore would evangelize the Catholic faith as part of its school curriculum. The court's decision could have vast nationwide implications by making it easier for religious entities to apply for and receive public taxpayer money for schools. The case has been closely watched by groups promoting religious freedom. And where did the gentleman go that interrupted me? I was going to go to him. What a shame. People come up, interrupt twice, and then leave. Oklahoma parents and children are better off with more educational choices, not fewer, said Jim Campbell, chief legal counsel at the Alliance Defending Freedom, a religious legal group representing the school. There's growing irony in state officials who claim to be in favor of religious liberty, discriminating against St. Isidore because of its Catholic beliefs. Well, I've got one very simple question from Mr. Campbell, who apparently is a lawyer. If you provide tax dollars for a Catholic school, don't you have to do the same for a Hebrew school? Don't you have to do the same for a Muslim school? Don't you have to do the same for 5,000 other religious schools? Once you open Pandora's box, the floodgates never stop. This is, in my humble opinion, I agree with everybody. It's unconstitutional, okay? Although it's not in the Constitution, you've got subsequent case law that basically says a separation of church and state. If you provide funding for one religious sect, you have to provide funding for all religious sects. The only exception I can see,
well, so I think that while of course anything probably could happen, the way that they're set up, because I started learning about Houston Sector Library Court after McKenzie.
Okay, so what's the, where do we come from? You have the answer to that question, or is it irrelevant, or that doesn't bother you? You're just living your life?
No answer for you, sorry. It's not, it would be cool to know, but I just
You
I
wanna
don't
know
have the
the-
answer. Yeah, and I'd rather have like the real answer and not some made up religious cope, that's just me.
Evolution says we came from the water, the ocean. If you want to learn where you came from, then maybe study evolution.
Yeah, whales came out of the ocean and then they went back.
Cause ain't doing this either. And I'm like, bro, I just said, hey, there's room for improvement here, and y'all want to go off into the damn thickets.
Hit dog holler.
Right.
I'm sorry. No, I mean, I don't see the issue, like, really honestly, right? I don't see the issue, like, in terms of, I see the issue what the women are talking about, but I'm saying to the men, why are you guys taking issue? Like, if nothing else, right? If you really feel it had nothing to do with you, right? Fold your hands and just listen to them and process it first. Process it. You might find something, you might have an epiphany, and then go from there. Don't be so quick to just like stick your chest out because you don't like. I know why a lot of y'all reacting. It's uncomfortable to hear him speak this way. You don't, but I'm gonna just say this: we have a real problem with leadership in our community as black men. We don't like to take on like leadership for real. So what I'm trying to say is this: a lot of y'all tripping because y'all really not manning up right now. Like y'all don't like being criticized, even when it's true. You want to act like these women are like these women are blind, like they can't see we doing a lousy job. Like our report card is really bad right now, and you want to pretend like we got straight A's, and you keep. Some of us are using our small sample.
A lot of times people move quote unquote more to the right because they don't have the trust necessary to sustain those political aims. I'm just making an analysis. I'm not saying it's true or not. But I'm just saying as people get older and experience these transactions, experience the world, have a longer view of history of being part of it for 40, 50, 60, 70 years, they just don't trust each other. And this is going to be really sad. And people don't like this. They don't trust people in their own communities.
But I mean, I think we just talked about it. We just talked about Twitter, right?
Daniel, you're not going to be allowed to come in.
And so they don't respond with that. You can go after this. I'm almost done. And it's not simply a.
Now, it's amazing what doesn't exist in the real world. For example, in the real world, there aren't any things, nor are there any events. That doesn't mean to say that the real world is a perfectly featured